I want them to appreciate the image and then appreciate that it's made from all these individual little tiny pieces. I'm inspired mostly in my work by dramatic lighting and movement.
Aloha, I'm Mary Spears.
And I'm Michael Kruzich. Aloha.
And we're working together, collaborating on a series of mosaic projects here in Hawaii.
I was trained in Ravenna, Italy. The ancient Roman and Byzantine methods and techniques are what I'm trained in. So what you would normally see in ruins or in cathedrals in Europe, those techniques also in my work transfer to more contemporary subject matter as well.
And there aren't many people in the United States who actually work in that method. So I was very fortunate to find Michael Kruzich. Michael turned me on to mosaic in a big way. What's exciting about the Italian method is that you're working with Venetian glass. The colors are incredible. The range is 3,000
colors available.
Using this glass, I can dimensionalize the image so that I can create shading and depth. The other piece is size. With the Ravenna method and Roman Byzantine methods, they're working in very small pieces, so you can fool the eye and actually see what appears to be a painting.
So it's much more detailed and fine work. You can paint with glass and stone, and it's based on lines, the way that forms follow lines.
My objective with the painting was to feature a mama humpback with her baby. I had to take the mama whale, our humpback, and twist her body. It's as if she's turned into frame. The mother's body is curved. And the reason for that is that if I were to do the mom directly next to the baby, straight, one to the other, I'd need the painting to be about to here. I mean, the baby's the size of a Volkswagen, and she's this larger than a school bus. So it's trying to get that sense of perspective. So this is the other collaborative project we're currently working on, which is a mosaic of a mermaid and an octopus. And it's a fantasy painting, obviously. Lots of color, lots of movement. I used every color I could think of so that Michael would have the biggest possible challenge with the mosaic.
For me to begin the process, what I did was take the photo of her painting and then turn it into a black and white print, which I can then go and isolate all of the different value fields in that, meaning the lights, mediums, and darks. And I use a pen like a Sharpie that will bleed through this. Then, if we flip it the other way, I'll trade you. Then this is the negative of what's on the front that then I will trace onto a tracing paper with a water-soluble pen, all of these lines, and then lay that tracing paper over the clay bed, rub it, massage it a lot, just like silly putty when you were a kid, pull it off, and the ink will transfer to the clay.
And now you have a map.
And then you work right into that bed of clay. Because there are so many different colors, 4 to 5 sometimes in each value family, I organize them like in a line so that I'm not grabbing from the wrong batch. And I'll number that like 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's what these refer to, so that myself and anyone who's working with me knows that once you work over to here, you're then into Number two, so this is basically just a way to organize things. All of that decision making relates back to the original painting. Oftentimes in mosaic, the contrast needs to be bumped up a little bit more. When you see the mosaic, you'll see that the colors are a little bit more intense, or the contrast between the lights, mediums, and darks is a little bit stronger than in the painting. The primary two materials that I use most are natural stone and Italian smalti. And the tools that we use to cut them by hand, this is a hammer, and this is a hardie, or in Italian, this is the martellina and the tagliolo. Basically, they are two blades, or chisels if you will, that when aligned, you strike them and it sends a fracture down through the material. And so this is a much thicker piece. So I'm just going to place that on here, and you can see how even larger materials are cut down to smaller. Now this is if I want a big piece. Normally the stone and smalti come in smaller pieces, but I break them down much more. For instance, this is a stone. You know, I can break it, I can keep having that piece until I get down to whatever size I need, even down to almost like a grain of sand. Maybe that's just a detail in someone's eye or something.
What you're looking to use in the mosaics is the inside of the glass. This is what you see on the surface. We're using the inside, which is where the color is most intense.
This is traditionally the inside, the part that we use. Once the mosaic gets down to sizes like this, it's called opus vermiculatum, which translates loosely to little worms. When something's that small, you can get quite a fine detail. So basically we have here the big clay bed that we make, and the tracing with a water-soluble ink of this reverse line work gets pressed into the clay and then peeled away, and the ink transfers into the clay bed. So then I have my sort of plan and my map in a way of how the mosaic's going to go. And what I do is the glass just gets slightly pressed into the clay bed. And one of the advantages of doing this method, this is called the Ravenna method, is that not only can I work upright like this, so that I'm not straining my neck looking down all the time, but if I don't like something that I just laid, or the next day, I can come in and I can just take this out and replace it. After we have placed everything in the clay bed, then we take a very large cheesecloth and we'll put it over the entire mosaic, and we will melt a bone glue, a water-soluble bone glue, and scrub it into the cheesecloth and the mosaic, so that then all of these pieces are attached now to the cheesecloth and glue. Then we take the whole mosaic, flip it, and we score the clay and take that all off the back. Now I can put the permanent mortar or thin set on the back of this, then place its substrate on there, flip it, let the mortar cure for a couple of days, and then we just boil water and scrub off all of the cheesecloth and glue off the top of this. And that's the whole process.
I start from a distance and I think I'm looking at a painting. And as I get closer, I see more and more. And then, because the colors are so incredible, and the cuts and the facets on the surface, so you have this light that's coming off of them. And the closer you get, the less you care about the total picture, and the more excited you get about what's happening with those little pieces of glass. One of the things that Michael is brilliant at, which is working with multiple colors in the same value to create the appearance of another color.
I can squint and see that this color is more or less the same value as this color, more or less the same value as this color, more or less the same value as this color.
So what happens with that is that when I've done that, I see a blue tone, but it looks volumetric. It appears to have density.
Yeah, it's deeper and more rich than it would be if I just used that one. So in the final mosaic of the whales, you will notice many of the darks and lights are a little bit stronger or more pronounced, so that with the mosaic, you get more of an impression from a distance.
Every time we worked on it, I would get excited again because I could see what was happening and I could see the magic happening. And that is what I'm always about with art. I love the magic.
And in a way, mosaic is a little magic because all of these tiny little individual pieces that don't mean anything on their own, they only mean something together with others. You know, I used to be a ballet dancer. That was a career of mine in the past for 30 years. And then I went into mosaics and someone told me, how did you make that transition? They're so different, but they're really not that different. Well, one burns a lot of calories and one doesn't, sadly. But very disciplined, focus, repetition. It's something that sort of snagged me, and all of my careers have been that way. I didn't set out to be a dancer. I didn't set out to be a mosaicist.
Having someone who's talented and has the skill sets to learn from is tremendous. And the mosaics they have a longer process, but the excitement all along the way is, for me, what keeps me coming back. It's incredible.